I need to feel your energy today from start to finish.
Come on, let's go.
Let's crank this thing up. It get real ferocious, I'm trying to tell you.
Turn me up all day.
From the locker room to the broadcast booth, breaking news and the truth behind every take from a real NFL insider and television analyst.
Now get ready for the NFL show where the conversation gets real and the fans get a voice. It's time for the Lake Lewis Jr. Show here on ESPN Radio.
And that's football.
Welcome, everyone, to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Appreciate you joining us, as always. That's my signature intro. I do that every show. It's just by habit, so it's not like something Alan has said. You got to do that. It's just by habit. So, once again, folks, welcome to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Appreciate you joining us, as always, and we've got a good one for you today. We're going to be talking about the Washington Commanders wide receiver room, and not necessarily what you're thinking, not necessarily Brandon Ayuk, because I don't think he's going to be part of that room. So we're not going to even go there. But we're going to talk about what they have in tow right now, who they have in their room. And I've said this after seeing them in OTAs, after seeing them in minicamp, mandatory minicamp. I'm telling you, I feel like their wide receiver room is not as bad as some people are making it out to be. I'm not trying to be the over optimist here. I'm just being truthful with you. I think they have enough pieces in place that if the season were to start today, I think they have enough. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to break down the guys in that room and who we see staying on the roster. So if you want to call us, all you have to do is reach out to us at 804-327-0888. Once again, 804-327-0888. Alan, today I saw some really good news for the organization. Right before I was getting ready to head in, I, got my email notification, and the team had sent out a memo to, team media, and it literally said, and this is big, man. Like, when I tell you this is big, this is something that's long overdue. It said, view his legacy. And it was a screen of John Riggins and all the great things that he's accomplished in his career. And it said, celebrating greatness. There will never be another number 44 this season. We are celebrating the legacy of John Riggins by retiring the legendary running back's jersey. And it's going to be against the Rams on November 8th. Long overdue. And if you know anything about John Riggins, you know that he, in my opinion, was Derrick Henry before Derrick Henry. And no, I haven't fallen and bumped my head. I'm being truthful about this. Alan, what do you know about John Riggins? Let's bring on our super producer right now, Alan Sandage.
I know he was a good running back. He's a beast. He's very physical, and he liked to finish runs, but obviously don't think I was old enough to see him play or in his prime. But I've seen, obviously, the clips on YouTube and everything, and from my understanding, I've never heard anybody say anything negative about him. So
you can't.
Yeah, I would assume similar to the Eric Dickersons and things like that. I never saw Eric Dickerson play in his prime or anything of that sort. But when people talk about him, peers and folks who know football, they don't say anything negative about them as far as their athletic ability and what they did as performers on the field. So I know he was a big back too, as well, which is, something that we don't see a lot of nowadays. Yeah. So you calling him like Derrick Henry or something, to me, makes sense from the measurable perspective.
He might have been faster than Derrick Henry. And I'm not blowing smoke there. John Riggins, just for you youngins out there, as we say a lot,
considered a youngin.
You would be
aspect,
one of the youngins.
Yes.
Let me learn you something real quick. John Riggins was a track star at University of Kansas before he even got into the NFL. And this is a big dude. And come on, elephant in the room, white dude. Yeah. That was smoking folks. Not saying why you can't run. I'm just saying that wasn't something that the NFL had seen. You got to go back to the days of maybe Frank Gifford in New York with the Giants in 1950s, to go back to a featured tailback, white tailback in the NFL. And John Riggins was that guy. And the irony about that is that John Riggins' heydays with the Redskins at the time was when he was in the latter parts of his career. We're talking about a guy that was doing that at like 33, 34, 35. Could have been older than that if my history doesn't serve me wrong. He was doing that at a later age. You know, when he came into the NFL with the New York Jets, he showed flashes and things like that, but obviously, you know, ended up with Washington and was a fullback. So a fullback, you know, back in those days was expected to do what, Alan?
Run the ball and a bunch of other things, block as well.
Right. But this guy was like,
fullback dive, baby.
yeah, he was a unicorn. So, you know, they had him in the backfield with multiple different backs, and he just kept becoming that guy. And if you look at Washington and what they did in those 80s teams, by the way, he made the all-decade team in the 1980s. So, again, I think this is phenomenal. And I also have to say this. Josh Harris, the owner of the Commanders, is literally stomping a mud hole in the previous owner, Dan Snyder. He's doing everything that this organization should have been doing beforehand, but they just weren't. You know, no, you can't cry over spilled milk or spoiled milk. Is it spilled milk or spoiled milk, Alan? What's that old country saying?
I think it's spilled milk.
I think it's.
I don't know why you would cry over spoiled milk.
I would if it's bad.
No, I wouldn't even touch it. It might be spoiled milk. I don't know. My grandma didn't use that one.
You know, spoiled milk used to be called penicillin.
We weren't allowed to cry in my household. So,
oh my God, we're not even 5 minutes into the program, and this guy's already at it. So, I mean, yeah, I wasn't either. So that's the thing. Big boys don't cry is what I was told, unless it's broken.
And it's spilled milk.
It is spilled milk.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, can't cry over spilled milk, but what you can cry over is the fact that it was spilled milk. It should have never happened. And for John Riggins to get his due, congratulations. Big number 44. He's a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You know, he has multiple franchise records, 79 rushing touchdowns, 7,472 rushing yards, 24 rushing touchdowns in a single season. That's, I mean, not too many people do that, okay? Two-time NFL rushing touchdown leader. So remember, all-decade team, 1982 Super Bowl MVP. And speaking of that 1982 Super Bowl MVP, and John Riggins right now is what we're talking about, folks, because the Commanders will be retiring his jersey finally, and it's something that was long overdue. I have to say, if you talk about some of the best things, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow on my fan show, and if you want to be a part of that fan show, it's in Zoom, folks. It's with fans from all over the world. You too can join us, but you have to have your backdrop and all that good stuff ready. If you want to come on the fan show, you can email us at thelakeLewisJr.show@gmail.com, and someone will get back to you and get you on there. All we ask, as we do on this show, as if you're watching it on YouTube, all we ask, myself and Alan, is that you come with a gentleman behavior. You know, we just don't put up with any of the nonsense. Do you know I had to block somebody last night on my YouTube, man?
Welcome to
based off of what you and I were talking about the other day. He called me a weirdo and said that I don't know Jaden Daniels and blah. I mean, seriously, man, why waste your breath saying those things?
Welcome to fame.
I'm a weirdo because I do know Jaden Daniels. I'm in the locker room with him. How can you say that? So anyway, he got banned. So, you know, we don't do that. But anyway, John Riggins to me might have the most signature moment in all of burgundy and gold history. Do you know what that is, Alan?
I don't. I'm not that well versed in burgundy and gold history.
It's his Super Bowl run against the Dolphins.
I definitely wouldn't know that.
I mean, you should have seen the footage and all that stuff by now.
I mean, it probably popped up in the highlight or something. I just never.
You don't remember seeing like footage of Chief Z saying, "Crank up that diesel," all that good stuff? Mm-mm. Okay, well, I'm gonna make sure you say it before we're done here. So he had, I think, the signature moment for, at the time, the Redskins. It might have been the most signature moment in their franchise's history because, one, it delivered the Super Bowl that they had been seeking. You know, I think that was Super Bowl 17. They won that game 27-17. This is all off the top right now, folks. So if I'm wrong, you know, I apologize. But I remember watching that at the time, if I'm not mistaken, I was 11 years old. And it was a magical moment. You know, Freeman, what's the name, or came up to tackle him, and he just stiff armed him, pushed him straight down in the dirt, took it down the sidelines. And that was kind of like the signature moment where you knew that team was there to stay. So again, this guy, and I'm talking about this so much because as an older head, this brings back memories. This was the guy, he and Joe Theismann and some of these guys that got this thing going. And, to see him not get the love that he was deserving of from the organization for all those years was just highway robbery. So just over the past couple of years, think about it. You've got Darryl Green back in the building now, being able to come around and shed light on his great career and all the things that he could help some of these young guys with. And now you're going to have a guy like John Riggins, because there was some hatchets that need to be buried with those two icons by the way they were treated. And now Josh Harris, once again, has come in and has done his thing. So that's what you want from ownership. You want ownership to recognize the people that made them want to buy the team. Let's be honest about it. Those are the guys that made you want to purchase this football team, and now you're showing them love. So there's a couple more that are going to be coming up here real soon. You got a look on your face, Alan. What you thinking?
No, I was just confusing that he hasn't already been honored by the Washington Redskins / Commanders, even with any kind of shenanigans. I mean, he's a legend in the organization. It's very strange. But I was also laughing because you compared him to Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
They are the exact same height, but Derrick Henry still has him by like 22 pounds, which is insane because Riggins was a big boy.
But you know what, though? In fairness to that, that's called evolution.
Yeah, of course, of course.
That's called evolution.
But I think Riggins personified the era of the big backs, or at least one of them. Obviously, there's a couple other ones, but I think towards the end of the 90s and then a little ways into the mid 2000s, we got away from it.
They did.
And then Derrick Henry became the unicorn, or the new unicorn. Like, we see him and we're like, dude, he's huge, man. Like, he should be playing tight end, not running back.
And there's still no one like him now.
No.
Like when you look at all the big backs, great backs, they're not Derrick Henry.
And Riggins played for 14 years, and shoot, Henry's been playing a long time too. Maybe these big guys, maybe they do it better. Maybe they can handle it better.
Well, I think their bodies, you would think their bodies would be more beat up being bigger.
Especially with him being a fullback.
But you know what? Maybe not. You know why maybe their bodies weren't as beat up? Because guys didn't want to come up and hit them.
That nobody's trying to take that contact. And also, I personally believe it's better to be the one initiating the contact than the one just absorbing it.
Absolutely.
And so they're not anybody's punching bag. They're actually doing the punching themselves. So,
and John Riggins had also something else in front of him too. He had a legendary offensive line that should have at least 4 guys in the Hall of Fame.
It's
the fact that they only have one
it's kind of crazy.
Is criminal.
That's crazy. And just again, the idea that you claim Snyder that he was a fan, and these guys are just now being honored in Josh Harris's era. It's just very strange to me.
Yes, it's called you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what it's called.
I can't think of me personally. I can't think of business getting in the way of something like that, or any kind of sorts. Like the players, and we kind of had this conversation a little bit this morning. We were talking about Verlander going to the Hall of Fame, but the players deserve to be honored, man. Like, anything you got going on in the organization should be separate from honoring these men and women who sacrifice so much as athletes. And people be like, oh, they're getting paid for it. Like, bro, like people go like,
you get paid for your job, but you want to be honored if you did something great for your company.
And the sacrifice it takes to be considered an all-time great or the great in any organization or sport. It's a lot of family time missed out. It's a lot of like, for them, it's a lot of toll on their actual bodies and stuff. The one thing you can give them is their flowers. Like, they're essentially, again, gladiators. We say it all the time, but like, these people are beating themselves up. And football is probably the most physical of the sports outside of like legitimate combat sports. So it's a shame when you have something very petty going along that keeps these people from being honored. So I'm happy to see him finally get his flowers.
Yeah, I mean, he's 76 years old, man.
Yeah, it was
just a long time to have to wait
for him to have to wait.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it's ridiculous. It truly is. But we're not going to go on the negative. We're going to go on the positive, and the positive is that this new ownership group, 3 years in now, they know what to do. They know how to push all the right buttons, and congratulations to the Commanders for doing that. Everyone knows that, he's a Redskin. That's what he is, but he's part of that burgundy and gold organization, and he's one of the most iconic figures. You can make an argument that John Riggins belongs on their Mount Rushmore of players that had that kind of impact. So look, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I want to switch gears here a little bit, still talk about the Commanders and talk about that wide receiver room. And everyone's talking about, all these free agent wide receivers that are still out there. And Alan, I'm going to bring some names up and you tell me if you want that guy or if you think he's even necessary. And I'm going to give you a reason why I think this room right now is already good enough to go into the season and compete. You're listening to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show right here on ESPN Radio.
It's one of those songs where I have to laugh because I think the feature is better than the actual artist who's supposed to be doing the song. We've had that happen a couple times in hip hop.
Yeah, of course. But anytime you can bring Jay,
Fat Joe's got a song coming out. Apparently, I'm telling you right now, Jadakiss verse is better than anything they got going on in there. So
okay, so you dropped some real gems there.
They shared it on
Jadakiss, man.
They shared it on their podcast or something. My algorithm is set to show me like the bits and pieces of the podcast and stuff, and that's kind of how I consume most of my my pop cultures right now. And I stayed and listened to that verse, and I was like, yikes.
So Jadakiss, what you know about the Locks?
I know that Jadakiss is like that.
Yeah,
and Styles P told you that.
Yeah, he is. And he's severely underrated. There's so many guys that
better
are
with
out
age.
there.
He's getting better with age.
Absolutely. What most of us are. That's what we do.
Oh, for sure. Not some of these receivers.
Well,
as you said.
Well, speaking of receivers, I do. I want to get into the Commanders receiver room, and from afar, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this room's terrible. They got to make a trade. They got to, they got to pick up a free agent here or there." And I'm like, look, you have the usual suspects out there that are still available, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just saying, and as far as, just language, you still have Keenan Allen's out there, unless something's happened by the time we loaded this show up and came on live. Keenan Allen's out there. Stephon Diggs is out there. Naturally, Brandon Ayuk might be out there.
He's out there, all right.
Yeah. Way out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you want to go to where you need to pick him up at.
and you have some other guys that are out there too. And but for all these veterans who have shown to be great football players at one point in the terms of like a Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen to me is a Hall of Fame wide receiver. I don't think he hasn't won a Super Bowl or anything like that, but he was the most dominant player on those teams for a long time.
I don't think receivers need to have the Super Bowl stigma on them to get into the Hall of Fame. I hate that we do it to quarterbacks because it's a team concept.
It really is.
When it comes to winning the Super Bowl. But I think he's been highly productive. I think he's definitely top 10 in his generation.
Oh, I might go top 5.
I mean, I was just trying to be generous just because I think some would argue that he's not necessarily top 5, but I think he is too. I've always loved his game. And I think, when he retires, he probably will get some consideration, but it'll be tough to cut his teeth into wide receiver Hall of Fame, I think, just because so many more are decorated with the Super Bowl and a bunch of other accolades that he just never really got credit for.
Well, the other thing too, which I hate about this, and then we'll talk about, this Commanders wide receiver room, is the fact that sometimes people relate Hall of Fame career, Hall of Fame numbers also with being a character.
Yeah, well, you know how I feel about wide receivers.
Oh,
and they typically do come. They typically do come with some kind of a character.
Seeing it right now, right?
They typically come with some kind of personality baggage. Keenan Allen would be one of the rares that he's never really been like that big of a diva in the sense of like creating drama in the headlines and things like that, to my knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't, and unfortunately, that's the kind of stuff that gets people. They don't know about a person because they're not causing trouble.
And he's West Coast bias.
Absolutely. Having spent most of his whole career with the Chargers, formerly San Diego, now LA. So you think of a guy like that, but then you still have Deebo Samuel out there. And Deebo Samuel played, obviously, for the Commanders last year, 1 year deal. It wasn't a 1 year deal as far as his contract, but it was a 1 year deal as far as he was just there for 1 year. Maybe there's a chance they could bring him back if they see some things early in training camp that they don't like. I doubt that's going to happen, but you never know.
I'm not going to lie to you. If I was Deebo, I would talk to McDaniel and see if he can't get out there to Los Angeles.
Well, that's where I think he's going to end up.
I think Harbaugh would love him.
Yeah, I've said this on record. I think Deebo Samuel ends up with the Chargers because Mike McDaniel could use him in kind of that, I don't want to say Tyreek Hill role, but, he could be that jack of all trades guy. And people don't realize with Tyreek Hill, who, by the way, is another free agent that's still out there. So Washington has a list of guys they could go after, but not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say, our friend Lee Corso would say here at ESPN. I think that when you think about what this room has right now, you have to start asking the question as far as growth of some of their younger players. You saw some guys as rookies and guys that got injured, so you never really saw their full body of work. But we all know who the king is on this roster as far as wide receiver. It's Terry McLaurin. There's no question marks about Terry McLaurin's game at all. There's no question mark as far as his leadership. There's no question mark as far as what he means to the city as far as everything that he brings to the table. He's the guy, okay?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody would argue he's not wide receiver 1 in there.
He's wide receiver
and he's
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the guy. But the question people are asking is who's going to be wide receiver number 2? Who's going to be wide receiver number 3? Who's going to be the rest of the wide receivers on the roster? Well, I want to break this down. I want to get your thoughts on this, Alan. And Alan comes, I ask Alan a lot on this show because he comes unbiased. He has no dog in the race with the Commanders. I cover them. I'm there every day. And it's a difference, okay? But everyone keeps seeming to tell me that Treylon Burks is going to be wide receiver number 2. And I'm not saying that he can't be, but I don't think that's etched in stone by any means whatsoever.
The glass half full is praying that Treylon Burks is the wide receiver 2. He would be perfect, right?
Yeah. Former first round.
Problem is Treylon Burks has never been good enough to be the wide receiver 2. And I think if you're the Washington Commanders and you look at this room, the question is, do we want to take the risk on what could be on like ceiling, on potential, or do we want to go with what we know? Terry McLaurin is what you know, right? Mm-hmm. You want to have another guy that you know can complement not only Terry, but be a safety valve for Jaden Daniels, and that can commit to being productive. That's the biggest thing. Like, you guys need production. And Luke and Diami and all these other guys, while they have all this potential and stuff, they don't have the history of production. Treylon Burks, with his speed and athleticism, the ability to also blow the top off of defenses if needed, would be perfect. In a perfect world,
and he's a big body.
Yeah. And he's not small for a speedy guy either.
Yeah, he's a big body. So the thing is that, as you said, and that's where the Ayuk thing had come into play. That's where the Stephon Diggs crowd out there, that's where that comes into play. You knew what they were doing, and you know what they can do. Obviously, Ayuk, can he come back from that injury, catastrophic injury that he had? Can he come back from the mental issues that's going on right now? Stephon Diggs, I said this before, as great a player as he is, and he had a really good year last year with the Patriots and helping them get to the Super Bowl. I think he had, 85 catches. There also were the off the field things, storylines. He's never been convicted of anything, but just,
and he's always come with some kind of baggage.
Yeah, but there's some things that off the field, he was married to a Cardi B, not married, but, had a kid with Cardi B.
Yeah, and, not married. You made that clear.
You made that very clear. And then also, the stuff on the boat. I don't want to get into all that negative stuff today, but those are things that if you're Washington and Washington has established a way they go about things and the type of player they go about it with, I'm just saying, a lot of these guys that might be sitting out there might have one or two things attached to them that aren't incriminating illegally, but just as far as the court of public opinion, do they fit the standard?
Yeah, and if you have questions about Stephon Diggs, you definitely got questions about Brandon Ayuk right now.
I can't run from that.
Yeah, I think that if I had to pick between the two, I would probably still lean more towards Ayuk. The thing I don't like about Diggs is Diggs is just a possession receiver at this point, and without his burst, I don't think he adds value to this team. Now,
I look at the age too.
Yeah. I mean, even because
he's 27 years old.
I would say like Mike Evans is long in the tooth, but Mike Evans still showed you flashes that he can stretch the field and he has burst, right?
And the Buccaneers are going to miss him.
Yeah, and he has a plethora of hamstring, soft tissue injuries in his career. But it's somebody that you're willing to take a chance on. Tyreek Hill, we haven't seen him do much since his injury. If he can come out and do a good training session and he looks explosive and quick, I would definitely take him over Stephon Diggs, just because what the Commanders are going to need is somebody to take the top off or scare defenses enough that they can't bring extra people into the box because of that threat of getting beat over top. Because you guys are telling me that you're going to run the ball more and more and more. If you're going to go for that ground and pound, you need people that can scare people from bringing in like the extra man or the extra safety down to the box, because that's going to affect your running game. So you need to find a complementary piece that is also productive and explosive. It's asking for a lot.
Well, in looking at the roster right now, the guy that I think will fill that void, there's two of them. You went out and you brought back De'Ami Brown, who was showing you that 2 years ago, especially during your playoff run.
Just wouldn't use him.
Right. So Jacksonville, he signs there, gets paid. Jacksonville just didn't utilize him for whatever reason. And for everyone saying that's because he wasn't good, no. Don't do that, because I'll say this. Jacksonville's having the same kind of issues where they're trying to figure out Brian Thomas, a guy like that. So I just think maybe Liam Cohen down there, just had some different ways that he wanted to go about doing some things with his wide receivers, and they didn't fit. Christian Kirk is no longer there either, so they're going to have a different looking room in Jacksonville real soon. Will your boy be not just a corner, but is he going to go on the other side?
He's got to be just a corner, and they plug him in like they did Dion. He can't do both.
He can't do both. It's just NFL's a different beast from college.
Although they're still talking about it. I think he ran 20 miles an hour or something the other day.
We know he's special.
Yeah, I know.
He's just an extreme athlete, but you got to save the kid, man. You need him. You need him out on that defense too, because that's where he's really special. So with that said, we just talked about Treylon Burks. When you look at some of these other guys, the kid to me that really jumped out on tape for me during OTAs, during minicamp, almost jumped out on tape to the point where you didn't even notice them. I know that may sound crazy, but I'm saying you always look at rookies and you're looking for them, and you're looking to see, because sometimes rookies have moments where they stand out, and it's not because they look good. It's because they're a rookie. Mm-hmm. I didn't see any of that from Antonio Williams, and I've been saying it for weeks. I kind of feel like he's going to be their number 2 receiver, maybe not number 2 on the outside, where a traditional number 2 is, but number 2 from in the slot. And they're going to move him around so he can play on the outside as well. He did that at Clemson.
Yeah, I don't think the number 2 needs to be. I think Jaden would benefit greatly from having people inside the hashes or on the hash to make throws to. I think we're well aware of what he can do outside the numbers. But the modern NFL offense, man, like, you got to get rid of the ball
quickly.
And especially if people are probably going to get more aggressive with you guys, since you're going to be running the ball more. He needs people. He would definitely benefit from help at the slot and tight end position, which we've already kind of talked about. Which they're going to get, and that's the thing. So I think that, Chig could be your number 2 guy as far as at the end of the year, the amount of receptions, So I would say Williams, like, looking at the roster, if on face value, mm-hmm. I would say I would choose him as the de facto number 2, even if I haven't seen OTAs and mm-hmm. all that. Like, I just know what he had in college and what he could do.
He's like that.
I think we talked to him last year at the ACC media day as well. But mm-hmm. like, he's good, and he's talented, and I think
coming out knows it too.
Yeah, coming out of college, he's better than Lane. He's better than Brown. He's better than this version of Burks. He's better than Van Jefferson. Yeah, I think it would be absolutely perplexing if he didn't make the roster.
Was it a steal for them to get him in the third round?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a very solid value pick. Him and we talked about him this morning, Surratt from
Indiana.
Yeah, from Indiana. I think are two value guys that came in the mid round and should be productive rookies for their teams.
100%. So when you look at the rest of this room, Luke McCaffrey, there was a time when people were like, Luke's not making a roster. It just went on for like 2 years. He's not making a roster. He's not making a roster.
Bad.
And I'm like, Luke McCaffrey comes from NFL royalty.
Yeah, but he's not a receiver by nature.
And in fairness, there you go. I was just about, you took the words out of my mind. That's why we got a great show here, because he was a guy that was changed positions in college, and ended up becoming a wide receiver when he transferred to Rice. So you have to learn how to do that. You have to learn that craft. You have to learn the nuances of getting off the line of scrimmage, separation, how to set up your defenders. So there's a lot of avenues there that you have to, do that. And I thought we saw Luke coming into his own last year before the injury. Jaden was trusting him, throwing deep passes to him. He was doing a lot. He was excelling on special teams before he got injured. So I think there's just a natural progression of knowing what to do. The game slowed down. So they're not getting a Luke McCaffrey coming out of Rice as a project. They're getting a guy that knows his
So
role.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you only had Luke and Terry, do you think Luke would be able to put up numbers with more attention on him?
I do. I do. I'm not saying it's going to be to the tune of
if you feel that way,
receptions, but
yeah, I was gonna say if you feel that way, then yeah, you probably have your number 2 or budding number 2. I don't feel that way personally.
I don't think he's a number 2.
Yeah,
I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that.
I was thinking the number
Luke,
2.
I think Luke is a 4.
Okay.
But I think he's in the NFL nowadays, your fourth receiver can be very productive.
Spread the ball around.
If you can get 30 catches from Luke McCaffrey, you're on to something, because that means the other guys are doing their job. We have a caller right now on with us. Mike B's joining us. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, LL, what's happening, brother? Thursday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's time.
Friday, AKA Friday Eve.
Friday Eve, and we're talking about it, just John Riggins' number will be retired, thank God, and finally. And then on top of that, we're talking about the wide receiver room right now, how I think that they have been a little disrespected, heading into training camp. I think that, and I've said this before, regardless of what goes on with other free agents or other guys they bring on the roster, I think the wide receiver room surprisingly looked okay in OTA and minicamp, enough so that I would be okay with them going into the regular season with that room right now.
I'm 1,000% with you, man. And Rigo, when I saw it in my feed, I said, "Oh, this must be old." I couldn't believe.
Should have been old, right?
Yeah, I couldn't believe. I'm so glad he's still here to get his flowers, man. Because the flowers you give to people who can't appreciate it is for the guests. It's not for the guests of honor, right? So,
good point.
Man, I'm so glad. And I don't know if you know, but coincidentally, the Friday fan folk are going to be at that game.
That's the game for that. That's the Rams game where everybody from all over the world, from my fan show, will be there. And I got something special lined up for y'all for that. And when I saw that, when the team sent me the memo, the email, I literally was like, "Oh my God, what a perfect day for this!" So. Yeah, man. Couldn't pick a better
You know
time.
what I'm saying?
I'm gonna have to thank Josh and Mark Klaus for doing that, because
absolutely,
maybe Mark has something to do with that.
you know what I'm saying? But man, I'm just feeling just like you are. That wide receiver room is not a little bit disrespected. It's a lot disrespected, man. And what I say is, if we believe we have an elite quarterback, which most of us believe that, all the Commanders fan believe that, then we're good to go. Because if you look around the league with these great 1-2 punches, they're not the ones that go far in the playoffs, bro.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that was something I wanted to bring up. all you got to do is look at the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. And this isn't to disrespect anyone outside of JSN as far as the receivers, because all of them played a part. But can you name 2 or 3 other receivers on the Seahawks? Now, obviously, we can, Alan and myself, and maybe you, Mike. But I'm just saying to the novice fan out there, or as the young folks say to the casuals, no one is going to be able to name. Maybe not even the other receiver opposite JSN. Alan, could you do that?
They got Rashid Shaheed.
Right. And I like Rashid.
I just remember the call. That's why.
And I like him a lot, actually. I do. He brought some value to them. But let's make no mistake about it. He's not JSN on the other side.
Absolutely not.
Right.
No.
So Washington has one of those guys. And am I saying Terry's better than JSN? Probably not. But am I saying JSN and Terry can be mentioned in the same category as far as their worth and value to their team? Absolutely, 100%. So Washington just needs for the other guys to come along, continue to develop.
That's right.
And I think that they'll be okay. And the other key factor in all of this is they got a tight end now that's a yak guy. They got a tight end that's going to get some catches and turn up field, as opposed to Zach, who was always reliable, always there. But Zach, as he was getting older, would catch the ball and he went down. You know, a lot of times he went down behind the marker for the first down, which I think was garbage calls.
Absolutely.
But so it's a lot of variables there, Mike. And I do, again, I'm looking forward to seeing what the young kid Antonio Williams becomes, because I think he's going to be special.
Absolutely. He is going to be special, and he's coming in at a time where Terry's in camp. And I mean, the youngsters miss Terry B and the defenders, because we thought we had a no-fly zone because we didn't have anybody out there pushing them, right? And
Good call.
Then we got some real talent, we're like, there's a lot of folk who could fly.
Yeah, they literally flying right by us, aviators and all, you know. So, and that's what I'm saying. So you hit that on the head. Terry being there is so invaluable, because he's the guy that can show these young guys, and he's already been doing it. You know, Terry, when he came back last year, you know, I say this, he wasn't as vocal. It wasn't the Terry that we saw. And this year, you see it. He's in the best shape I've ever seen him in. You know, going into training camp. This is the best I've ever seen him. And he knows what's at stake here. He understands who he is and what he means to this organization now. And he understands what he's going to have to do to help bring these other guys along. So I'm really looking forward to this wide receiver room. I do want to throw this out there real quick, Mike, and then we've got to move on here real quick. We've got another caller. But if I were to say yay or nay to you, you say yay or nay as far as a wide receiver making the roster. Obviously, Terry's yay. Antonio Williams, yay. Traylon Burks, yay or nay?
Could we come back? Let me pass.
Okay. All right. Okay. Luke McCaffrey.
Yay.
Okay. Jalen Lane. 100% yay, because he's your special teams monster.
Yeah, because he's a specialist. Yeah.
De'Ami Brown.
Yay. And I'll go yay on Burke. Yay on Burke.
So that's a smart move, but this is the wild card, Van Jefferson.
Good Lord.
You know what I've been telling you, what I've been seeing.
I know, but I mean, so now what is my count off? Are we keeping 7?
I think they're keeping 7 wide receivers.
A lot.
I've been saying that all summer. There's no reason for me to believe that they will not keep 7 wide receivers. I've seen it done before in the past with certain teams. And a lot of that is because they're going to be interchangeable. But more importantly, Jalen Lane, to me, really pencils in as your wild card as far as special teams. I know Luke can do it. And he'll be a kickoff returner. But Jalen Lane's electrifying in the punt return game. And that's an invaluable part of what they need to set up success for the offense. So to me, I think that's why they're going to keep 7. So there you have it.
Yeah. If they keep 7, I could definitely see it. But now we're looking at keeping 4 tight ends, maybe 5.
See, that's the wild card there.
Man.
That's the wild card. I don't know if they do keep 4 tight ends. I mean, I know Chig and Bates are there, and Sennett and You got some other guys there, Colson Yankoff. You've got a couple of other guys, but they've got I think Sennett's your third receiver. I do. I think he's the third receiver and getting a lot of number 2 tight ends, or not receiver, but tight end. And I think he's going to get a lot of number 2 tight end reps. I do. I truly believe that. So the question is, Bates is your mauler. He's your blocker. Do you need 2-3 blockers? Because Ben's now proven that he can block as well, So it's going to be interesting. But these are the good problems that good teams have that we're talking about now.
Absolutely. I think a lot of folk may be actually coming to shop from our cuts this year, man.
Oh, it's going to be some surprises on there. Trust me on that. But look, my friend, I appreciate you calling me. We got to move on. We got another caller on with us right now. So I will see you tomorrow, my friend.
Yes, you will. Take care, LL.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. All right, folks. Mike Barrett from The Firm, folks, is one of our sponsors. So make sure you check out The Firm if you need an attorney. This guy gets it done. All right, so let's go over to Bruce right now. What's going on, Bruce?
What's up, LL? I just caught that.
Nice.
LL.
Nice. Yes. LL, double L, whatever you want to call it. What's going on with you, my friend?
I have a question for you. I mentioned to Alan, I had a question for you, Lake. Mm-hmm. And this question is going to catch you out of left field, Lake. I know it is.
Okay.
Did you know Alan was once a comedian?
He told me that. He's a comedian on the show, so it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it doesn't. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, Alan's a jack of all trade, man. I mean, like I gotta give him love, and I gotta say this. He might be like, "Don't say it," but Alan does a lot for ESPN Radio up here in Richmond. I can safely say that. Me not being, with ESPN Radio in Richmond, I'm just on the air here, but. The thing is I do see all the work that this guy puts in. And sometimes I guess he needs that comedic humor to get him through his day. Is it fair to say that, Alan?
Yeah, being a Niners fan, you got to laugh.
Yeah, okay. You already know that's where I was going. But that's good stuff, though.
But you haven't told no lies. You haven't told no lies. So I stand on all 10s. When you talk about his work that he puts in.
Yeah, he does.
That guy sleeps at the facility.
Yeah.
So like, I do have a second question though, because I enjoy growing up where my dad and my oldest brother were huge Washington fans. And my uncles were I enjoy when I hear Washington fans with exuberance. Mm-hmm. In their voices. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I enjoy you guys, man. So I could have listened to you and my man just keep on going. Because it's good to hear Washington fans be excited again. I'm an Ohio State fan. Always have been, probably always will be. So has Terry lost a step or anything? And then my follow-up question, did the Brandon Ayuk move this weekend where he went after Jaden's mom, did that backfire on him?
Yeah. Okay. So 2 great questions. I'll answer the latter in a quick resounding answer. Hell yeah. You don't go after anybody's moms. That's off limits, man. And it's just not the kind of look, playful chatter or not. It's just not the kind of look you want, especially if you're trying to join forces. You don't do anything that's going to make people question that. And I think it has. And I know it has with the fan base as well. So to answer your question, I think it's going to backfire. As far as Terry, no, he hasn't. He hasn't lost a step. He looks better. And I said this a little earlier today, Bruce, in OTA and minicamp, that's the best shape I've ever seen Terry in. I mean, he's taken the offseason uber serious this time, and he's coming back with a vengeance. I think he's coming back to remind people that, you saw what I did when I had an adequate elite caliber quarterback. You saw that special season they had in 2024. Last year's injuries, holdout, Jaden's injuries, the team's injuries, they just never got going. So I think that's going to be a deadly duo this year. I think Terry's going to show people that he's back. So no, he has not lost a step. All right. So look, folks, we got to get ready to take a break. Bruce, my friend, I appreciate you calling. Although you said Ohio State, I almost threw up in my mouth there. I'm a Penn State guy. Other than that, Great call. Appreciate you as always. Make sure you call us at any time. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to move on, talk about some NFL news. There's a guy that's up in the great Northwest that is considered now the best D tackle in all of football, but there's a ominous omission from the list that I want to bring up to Alan and find out why is that the case. But you got to find out when you come back with us right here on the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. About John Riggins and his about time jersey retirement. Good for the Commanders on that. I got to applaud that. That was big for him at 76 years old to finally get his flowers. And we're also talking about the Washington Commanders wide receiver room. And is it good enough right now to go into the season currently constructed, which I think it is. And we hopefully answered that question for you as fans out there. But now I'm going to move on and talk a little bit of NFL here. And kind of tied into somebody, and I see Alan's face over there right now, because right here at ESPN, you can go to ESPN.com and you'll get the executive coaches and scouts rankings.
I'll be honest with you, I never look at these lists.
No. I always look at us. I always look at the ESPN when that's us. But so
because it says executives, coaches, and scouts, and I'm like, man, I like the player list.
Yeah, I like the player list.
Yeah.
The top 100 NFL. That's the player, so you know what's up. But the executives, coaches, and scouts. The question is it coaches in your own building?
Yeah.
So this is what they've done. So right now, they've ranked the top NFL defensive tackles for 2026. Surprisingly for me, he's a great player, but Leonard Williams, they have at number 1. That kind of caught me off guard, because naturally from my mind, I'm thinking Jeffrey Simmons or Jalen Carter, who, by the way, are number 2. Jeffrey Simmons from Tennessee is number 2. Jalen Carter from the Eagles is number 3. And then you have the wily old man, Chris Jones, with the Kansas City Chiefs at number 4. But when you look at the rest of this list, Derek Brown from the Carolina Panthers. Alan, you cover the Panthers. Was that a shock to you to see him?
No,
number 5?
He's a stud.
He's a stud, and rapidly rising. Could move up a little bit higher before it's all said and done. He's only 28 years old. All right. Number 6, Quinnen Williams with the Cowboys. I need to see him put it all together again. I need to see that version of him. Number 7, Dexter Lawrence from the Bengals. That's a little bit of a drop for him because he had a bad year last year with the Giants, and they moved on from him. Yeah, they moved on from him. Okay. Number 8, Zach Allen, Denver Broncos. Are you surprised he's there?
No, underrated. The Broncos always sneakily have an interior defensive lineman that people don't pay attention to, but whenever they've had a good defense, there's been some guy in that inside that's really been the engine that gets them going.
Yeah, and he's definitely been a presence for them. Number 9, Milton Williams, New England Patriots, definitely came on the scene last year after 1 year. He left the Eagles, and people were wondering what he was going to do, and he stepped up, helped them get to a Super Bowl. And then Jordan Davis, big Jordan Davis from universally, known as a Georgia Bulldog first. But this guy was coming into his own for the Eagles over the last 2 years. So I think he's going to be primed for a big year this year. Honorable mentions: Byron Murphy, the second from the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah. DeForest Buckner from the Indianapolis Colts, from your former team. Yeah.
I didn't want to trade him.
The 49ers, of course. Vita Vea, from Buccaneers.
Yeah, who's a monster.
One of the biggest guys out there. And then they also had people receiving votes. Cam Hayward, who was number 100 on the NFL, top 100 list. And he's an old guy, but he's still there. Kobe Turner. Okay. You have Kenny Clark. And you have a couple other guys, Ed Oliver and 2 other guys. But whose name was not on this at all? You got to go here 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 guys were mentioned before Daron Payne. What does that say, man? Seriously.
It says Daron Payne doesn't get a lot of love because Daron Payne has not been as productive as they would like to see. And also Daron Payne doesn't stand out on tape, apparently, because the execs and scouts and stuff
and coaches
don't recall making a game plan saying we need to make sure we block that guy, which at Bama, they definitely said that.
So this leads credence to what I'm about to say and what you've said as well. There's a reason why we're so high on Johnny Newton this year.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need him to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that Payne isn't a respectable interior defensive tackle, but like, I mean,
but we have to stop doing that. Alan.
Everybody on this list is a dude, man.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But that's the one thing that I've always said to the Commanders fan base, formerly Redskins, was you can't make your own guy a world beater in the eyes of what the rest of the league sees.
Yes.
And that's been the situation in Washington for years. Really good football players were supposedly marketed as Hall of Famers, all pros, Pro Bowlers. And you just didn't see that, So, for every great wide receiver like a Santana Moss, who I clearly thought was undervalued, there were like 10, 15 other receivers for Washington that they wanted to take his job and they couldn't because they weren't as good as him. So with that said, folks, really good show today. We're trying to bring you some info leading up to training camp with all these different scenarios. I got some good ones coming up for you on Tuesday. And of course, the big man, Trent Scott, will be back on with us as well. So appreciate you guys. Have a great evening with your family and friends. We'll see you right here on the Lake Lewis Jr. Show.